Thanks to the Insomniac leaks that came out at the end of 2023 that gave us the information that Spider-Man 2 ended up costing them and Sony $360 million, where if you're spending that much money on a game, you better make sure that the install base for the system that you're going exclusive to can go ahead and return a profit on that. But don't worry about that. We have other plans. We have other Marvel franchises and IPs that we can go ahead and mine for ideas, because it wasn't like Spider-Man 2 wasn't iterative enough off the original Spider-Man, so we got to think that Marvel's Wolverine will be a totally new breath of fresh. No, it's not. No, it's not at all, because there's apparently I don't know if they're doing the Blade game, but that's supposed to be exclusive on Xbox if they still have a console in a few years' time. One of the big Sony exclusives apparently coming out in 2025 is going to be Marvel's Wolverine, and the people behind it, well, there's one of them right there. And when I say every time, Associate Narrative Director Mary Kenney says every lever must be pulled to push a disordered LGBTQ plus agenda. Fantastic stuff. So Wolverine's going to be gay, huh? Or he's going to have gay feelings, okay? Is he going to have incestuous gay feelings? Is he going to have thoughts of his brother Sabretooth? Is he really going to look over at the Juggernaut running through walls thinking, oh God, I hope he runs something else through me? Like, this is Wolverine, man, okay? Outside of Spider-Man, arguably, you would say, well, prior to the ascendancy of the MCU, the most recognizable face in Marvel. You're going to do what to him? You already replaced Peter Parker. Good luck on that one. Marvel's been trying that for a long time to see diminishing results, because Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and Miles Morales is, well, Miles Morales. Now you want to go ahead and, I don't know, try to push an agenda with Wolverine? It's like, for God's sakes, he's Canadian. He's already suffered enough. But let's take a look. Associate Narrative Director at Insomniac Games, who is working on upcoming Marvel Wolverine game, Mary Kenney, declared that every lever must be pulled in order to push a disordered LGBTQ plus 2AIPRRLMNOP plus agenda. I can see why they put the plus at the end, because it's getting oh so cumbersome. Speaking with dual shockers, oh fantastic, about the recent GLAAD report bemoaning the lack of big gay characters in video games. In recent times in the West, lack of gay characters? Are you having a laugh? Kenney described the report as heartbreaking. She also stated that GLAAD report tell the thumping key. Games are a way for LGBTQ people to socialize. Really? So that's why you need to go ahead and force all of this agenda into single-player games. All right. No, but it also tells us something heartbreaking, that gay gamers don't feel that developers are thinking of them when they design games. No, they're thinking of, at least at a point in time when the Western game developers could be considered in this conversation, they're going after the biggest swath of the market, which is normally the way that business runs, but in this age of Western gaming, just basically engaging in crony capitalism, getting money either from Microsoft that can go ahead and look at the Xbox brand as a vanity project, or over at Sony, which, I don't know, man, all of that money's got to be running out, because that's not nearly as big of a company as Microsoft. A sliver of the revenue that Microsoft can go ahead and not generate, and then also funnel from a little thing called Windows over to their vanity project. They are a little bit bigger than Nintendo, which is why you don't really see Nintendo kind of delve into this nonsense, because it's not good business. Why would you cater to a single-digit percentage of the entire population, and then gamers? I'm not talking about mobile gamers, okay? We're talking about people that are going to have a PS5. People that are going to want to engage in this snowy third-person action type game. You've targeted your audience down to dozens of players at this point in time, and you're wondering why developers don't want to specifically make all of their characters gay or trans. I wonder why. And yet there are so many gay developers, and we want what players want to design experiences that tell the player we're here, we're important, and we belong. Again, this is what happens when you put women in control, man. Just the narcissism runs rampant. Stop me when I'm telling lies, man. Every single time. Kim Belair over at Sweet Baby Inc. Oh, there's an article linking out to her right there. Shout out as usual. thinking of herself. The reason that she got into the gaming space was because, you know, every time that I was playing a game that I had to be a white guy. But then when I gave myself the opportunity to hop into a game with a character creator, which character creators have been around for how long? I mean, just about as long as the gaming industry has, I could see myself as a black female, and it was so empowering that I need to force that on everybody else. It's female solipsism given an in, not through meritocratic means, of course. No, of course not. I don't know what Mary Kenney's resume looks like, but I'd imagine it probably looks nothing too dissimilar to that of a Starbucks barista. She's given at least a narrative input on something as important as a Wolverine game, which I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a very awesome Wolverine game back in the 360 era, and it was supposed to be a movie tie-in game for the original X-Men Origins Wolverine movie, which it's fine. It's not great. I've seen it in theaters, and Jackman's Wolverine is fantastic, but the game is so much better than the movie because the game actually gets a character of Wolverine. He's gory, he's brutal, he's vulgar, he's everything that people liked about Wolverine. He isn't trying to push the whims and the ideas of ideologically driven female developers. In order to obtain this, she declared we need to pull every lever we have, characters, community support, mechanics, to make it so. What's a gay mechanic? Like, I'm just wondering, like, outside of somebody that works exclusively on Teslas, like, what do we the gay characters, that one makes sense. Community support, we've seen the backlash against the overly woke and offensive community managers, but gay mechanics? Like, I don't know, what, you have to pull levers with your butt cheeks? Is that what we're going to be doing here? I don't think so. This is the opposite of what the video game developers should be doing. Tend to agree. Instead of attempting to normalize and lead people to objectively disordered lifestyles, that's one way to put it, they should be promoting the common good. Common good is defined in Catholic. Yeah, I don't really need to go to an institution that thought the common good was just instead of getting rid of certain types of priests and pastors, I'd just simply move them around to different congregations and everything would be fine. I don't need to have a moral dictating by a bunch of freaks like that. But in a 12-post thread to X, Kenney attempted to justify and defend Sweet Baby Inc.'s pushing of woke ideology into video games because, you know, Sweet Baby Inc. is probably, more than likely, because, hey, they consulted with Insomniac on Spider-Man 2. Oh, did you not forget? Why wouldn't that end up being the case with Wolverine? It's already been in development for how many years at this point in time? She wrote, "Some of you don't seem to understand how narrative consulting on games works. Oh, but don't worry, I do." Oh, that's fantastic. So, okay, so you're a creative Insomniac, and you have to outsource your creative capacities to these consultancy firms. Why are you employed exactly? Anyways, yes, this is about Sweet Baby. Because I've worked with that team, and they're one of the finest in the biz at pushing their own personal ideologies, at pushing their own pet projects. I'm sure they are the finest in the biz. That's why they were the most prominent and the first ones in the crosshairs, but they definitely aren't the only ones. We'll go ahead and read a little bit more of this because I think it's important to take a look at the mindset of these individuals and realize that your ideological opponents, they aren't gonna stop at all. So that's why, even if I am a little bit skeptical as to the success of the Free Stellar Blade campaign, the ideas behind that, you know, trying to get more transparency, trying to get companies to stop lying to consumers, to get out of politics and simply sell a game, I think that that's incredibly important, and those are actual principles. Those are things that you can stand on. Those are incorruptible principles that freaks like this, well, they can't go ahead and match at all. Okay, all they can do is simply appeal to emotion. All they can do is just push the NPC update of the day. Kenney then shared a disingenuous breakdown of what Sweet Baby Inc. does by ex-user 8-bit closed fist. Sure, he says wokeness is killing gaming. Here we go. I have avoided this conversation around Sweet Baby Inc. for too long, but now it's getting out of hand. Basically, when a game is being made, some people will hire them to help them writing a dialogue or character design of certain types of characters. Spoiler alert, it usually involves stories and characters that isn't the default. No, we've seen them in action, and just go back to earlier this year when the Sweet Baby Inc. stuff really started to pick up with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. How's that game doing right now? Fantastically so. Looking really forward to the trans Mrs. Freeze, that's gonna do gangbusters for that dead game. Yeah, we've seen your work, and it's trash across the board. Now, anti-woke people call it one of this, and they flock to it like flies on a turd. Very apropos for describing anything that Sweet Baby Inc. works on. They'll tell you the reason Kill the Justice League and Arkham Knight are bad games, and they'll say that the reason why Spooderman is dating a deaf woman, not just any deaf woman, I'm just gonna go ahead and, allow you to fill in the blank on that. Well, they left out a certain characteristic. And while Joel lost in golf, no, the Joel scene was just because Neil Druckmann, while he might be an insufferably woke ideologue, he also can't write. Like, everything that Naughty Dog as a studio was getting praised for was all because of Amy Hennig. Like, she was actually a genius. Still is a genius. I'll never forgive Neil Druckmann for what he ended up doing to the Uncharted franchise by inserting that stupid character in Uncharted 4. God, there was such a good game underneath of there. A good brother story. Something that we really don't see in gaming. It's right up there with a good father-son story, which, oh yeah, we go ahead and take a look at here. They won't mention that that they worked on games like God of War Ragnarok. Yeah, they will. The Angrboda scene, okay? What everybody who played and enjoyed the game points to as, yeah, that's kind of the worst part. And what is it involved? Oh, right, a race-changed mythological Norse figure. Yeah, okay. And it's a walking and talking hand-holding simulator. Fantastic. And Alan Wake 2. No. That's where, Sweet Baby Inc. as a company really started to get exposed because people were looking forward to Alan Wake 2 off of the cult hit that was the original. And then Control, the follow-up that came out a couple years ago. People really like that. And then Alan Wake 2 came out and it's like, what the fuck is going on? You race changed an established character and you made her a girl boss all for what? Don't even play as Alan. They won't tell you precisely what they worked on. Well, let's be completely honest, Sweet Baby Inc. aren't exactly terribly forthright with exactly what they work on. All they do is give you broad strokes and people are left to fill in the gaps, which is a lot of modern video game development, if we're being completely honest. It's not public knowledge. Some of these clowns are even going as far to say the reason the reason of the layoffs, which makes no sense. No, it makes perfect sense, man, because people are seeing their impact writ large across the games that they were looking forward to. Spider-Man 2 will never, ever recoup its budget 100%. Because now, we're half a year removed from the release of that game, and the only time that it's referenced is, oh yeah, you have to play as a deaf black girl and you spray paint stuff with muffled sound. That's kind of stupid. Alan Wake 2. Nobody talks about that. And the fact that there's only digital distribution of that game, means that it can just be eventually lost to the dustbin of history, which is absurd to think about. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. Like, it's the only thing that it killed was itself. Nobody's going to remember that unless, of course, end of the year lists come around and go, oh, you remember that disaster? That was hilarious. And they tried to keep it going on and on, with more seasons, Best of luck on that. But yeah, God of War Ragnarok? Yeah, people might remember that. People will definitely remember that game, but your sequence, yeah, it will always be looked on with derision because whenever these people, okay, it's always projection with them, some of these clowns. The only clowns that are out there are the people trying to defend Sweet Baby Inc. Are the people trying to defend putting more gay representation in games where it doesn't need to be. There's a reason that these people have to work for these established companies because their ideas, their wants, and their supposed needs aren't good enough to get their own individual IPs off the ground. They're out here. They're parasites. They're vampires. They're IP vampirists, sucking the life force out of otherwise thriving games, thriving franchises. Don't let people like this through the front door. Don't let people like this. Whenever you see unnaturally dyed hair, whenever you see a bob haircut that looks like it was done with a ruler and a straight razor, never ever let them touch anything outside of maybe the trash. But again, I wouldn't even hire them for that because then eventually they'd come around and try to sue you for underemployment or discrimination, unlawful termination because they think that they're above emptying the baskets even though they got hired on as a janitor, and that is somehow a suppressive and a supremacist ideology. They hate you, and every single time that they open up their mouth, they're telling you that in as many words. Trying to make Wolverine a vehicle for the message is just the latest example of that. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.